Thank you to those members of the audience that responded to my good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
This evening, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to our forum entitled Building Bridges to Restore Excellence and Pride in Hempstead Public Schools. My name is Cheryl Goodrich, and I will serve as your Mistress of Ceremonies. I retired from Hempstead in 2007 after working as an educator at Jackson, Maine Elementary School for 36 years. I am currently in my first term as president of HERA, which is an acronym for Hempstead Educators Retiree Association. Thank you. This group was established in 1999. I represent HERA at the NYSET Retiree Council 18 monthly meetings. It is an organization comprised of any dues-paying retired Hempstead employee. We conduct our meetings at the Hempstead High School Little Theater at least 6 times a year. Our membership lives all over the United States, and they send in their send in their dues quite faithfully every year. Our members support our efforts to provide scholarships to college-bound, qualified, deserving high school seniors. HERA remains active, supportive, dedicated, and committed to all Hempstead students receiving quality education and being nurtured to become successful contributors to their community. At this time, will you please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets heard there from our thirsty air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? O'er the land of the free, and the home of love.
Thank you. Please be seated. At this time, I would like Mr. Elias Mestizo to come forward, President of the Hempstead Classroom Teachers Association.
Thank you. My name is Elias Mestizo, President of the Hempstead Classroom Teachers Association. On behalf of all the teachers who make up the Hempstead Classroom Teachers Association, I welcome you to this historic event where our goal is to shine a light on the strength of the Hempstead community and join forces in restoring excellence and pride in Hempstead schools. I want to thank Hofstra University for giving us the opportunity to hold today's event. Many of the teachers at Hempstead Public School have studied through the academic halls and classrooms of Hofstra University. We felt that there was no better place to hold this event, since our ultimate goal is to ensure that our students continue their studies beyond high school, either at a college or university or a career in a preparation program. Recently, I contacted Dr. Herman Berliner, provost of this fine institution, and he and I have made a commitment to get together to discuss how to find ways in which Hofstra University and the Hempstead Classroom Teachers Association can join forces in order to help Hempstead schools on a path to success. Thank you, Dr. Berliner, and thank you. Tonight, various speakers will share with us their desires and commitment to the success of the children of Hempstead schools. Each of them brings different experiences, but they look for the same outcome: strengthening the educational system in Hempstead by not only talking about what needs to be done, but by acting on what must be done. You will hear the wonderful songs by the Hempstead Select Chorale and Voices of Virtue. The Hempstead Select Chorale has earned the international recognition in Vienna, Austria, Verona, Italy, Prague, Czech Republic, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. They are led by the director, Rachel Blackburn. Over 10 years ago, my predecessor as HCTA President, Dawn Sherwood, and Dawn, where are you? Saw beyond the times and set the course for the HCTA to be involved in community by strengthening the ties with the PTAs and other local organizations. In the last 3 years, we have expanded our ties to the business community, higher education community, non-profit organizations, faith-based organizations, student organizations, politicians, policymakers, and other unions. We do this not to build a name for ourselves, but to build relationships that ultimately help students and teachers get the supports needed to change the course towards success. For years, the Hempstead Classroom Teachers Association has called for proven and qualified instructional leadership, safe and healthy buildings, unified curriculum, sufficient resources, transparent hiring practices, partnerships on behalf of students, teachers, parents, and community, dignity and respect, teacher-leader opportunities, and teacher voice in decision-making. These demands will be fully met when the community at large also demands and holds the district accountable. In the last year and a half, we have seen how this community, the Hempstead community, has come together to demand change, and many of the demands are being met. We are seeing a community that is standing up and making sure that change continues. We are seeing a community that is willing to speak truth to power and demand that what is right for children. I do not know about you, but I want to be part of that community, and I am part of that community. And we see a ray of hope, but there's a lot more that needs to be done, because there's a reality that we face every day when we come every morning to school. Not only teachers, but students and our fellow administrators. We service over 7,200 children. 62% of the students are Latino. 35 of the students are African American, and 3% other. 30% of our students are limited English proficient. 15% are students with disabilities. 80% economically disadvantaged. Attendance is a major problem, especially at Hempstead High School. This school year, our students were also negatively impacted by the unilateral change from the 9-period day to an 8-period day schedule, which cut down on class offerings to students, gave rise to higher class enrollments, and put in jeopardy graduation requirements to be met by many of our students. Unacceptable. This year, 350 unaccompanied minors and 580 homeless students enrolled into the district, which made it a challenge to start the school year on the right path to success. Many of those students miss approximately 2 months worth of instruction. That's unacceptable. Many of our students are being instructed in portable classrooms that have been in district for over 35 years. The health and safety of our buildings are impacting teaching and learning conditions. Yet, regardless of all the challenges we face, as teachers, we hold true to our commitment to educate every child. The lack of proper resources and proven curricula have a real impact on outcomes. Yet we're true to our commitment to educate, even though at the end we always get the blame for the poor decisions of the few who are above us. And the reality is that many generations have been impacted and will be continued to be impacted. And that's unacceptable. This is not about blame, but about speaking about truth. What is it that we face? What is it that we experience every day? The reality is that in order for us to turn to a successful path, we cannot ignore to discuss and talk about poverty. We cannot ignore immigration. We cannot ignore the fact that our students have to walk from one corner of the district to the other corner to go to school because we have no bus services for them. And we cannot ignore the fact that teacher voice, experience, and commitment has not been taken into account. At this moment, I would like to ask my fellow officers to join me for my last part of the speech. Hempstead teachers, who I believe represent what Hempstead teachers are all about, and to speak to the commitment we have for our students and community. Barbara Powell was a retired media specialist in Hempstead Public Schools. She leaves a legacy of community activism. She helped found the Long Island Black History Museum. She's also remembered for being the Hempstead NAACP president for 26 years. Mrs. Powell, we recognize your commitment and we thank you for your work. And our secretary has put one of our shirts, ACTA shirts, and a rose in her memory. Thank you. Bobby Munoz was an ESL teacher at Franklin School. He was willing to give everything on behalf of students. When he had to retire due to health issues, it was very tough. It was a very tough decision because he loved what he did, which was to educate children. His colleagues at Franklin School, his family, felt his departure. But remember him for the great educator he was. Bobby, we recognize your commitment and we thank you for your work. Patricia Williams was a special education teacher at Franklin School, finishing her career at the middle school. She was also an elected ACTA building representative at the middle school. Pat always called things as they were. She never held back. When she and I discussed about taking a medical sabbatical during the summer, she was constantly saying, "Mestizo, I know I need to take the time and get better, but I need to teach. I need to give my students what they need." Pat, tonight we recognize your commitment and we thank you for your work. Gene Schulmeyer was science teacher at the middle school for many years and ended his career teaching at the high school. He was an elected ACTA building representative at the middle school and high school. When I ran for president 3 years ago, he ran with me as second vice president. His love for science and education was always clear. He was an advocate and fought for the master schedule to be completed on time. That he gave his own time during the summer to come and help out. He did not see his dream come to fruition, but the reality is that it will happen soon. Gene, you taught me to look at the stars as a true scientist you were. Tonight we recognize you, and we recognize your commitment, and we thank you for your work. These 4 teachers share a commitment to educate children. However, they were not ready to leave the teaching profession, but due to health reasons, they were forced to do so. As I was preparing my speech last night, finalizing, making changes, this really broke my heart, because there is no reason why a teacher has to leave teaching. They love teaching because they get sick in the workplace. And as a union, we have started to demand, and we're starting to look into the health issues of the buildings, because health and safety of our buildings impacts learning conditions, and in turn, our working conditions are impacted. So as we reflect on what I have just presented to you, and prepare to move forward to our success, one thing I can assure you is that Hempstead classroom teachers are committed to the Hempstead community. We are committed, and we are a committed union that advocates and will continue to advocate for student needs. And we are committed to help change the outcomes, and we will build a better future with the Hempstead community to help our children. Thank you.
As you look at your program, I unfortunately did not remind us to turn down the volume on our electronic devices. I know there's a little quiet message at the bottom of your program, just in case. At this time, I would like the Voices of Virtue under Director Rachel Blackburn to come forward.
Is coming. About 3 years ago, I was going through the files in my classroom, and I found the sheet music to the Hempstead alma mater. It had not been sung in several years. In fact, it was written in 1933 by Jeff Clarkson. And when I came here 14 years ago, I wondered if we had an alma mater. So I was so happy to find the music. And in case, I know that some people who graduated like in the 70s and 80s said they remember the words being written in their yearbook, but they never sang it. So tonight, we want to sing our alma mater for you.
All hail to our
Our next speaker, NYSET Representative Catalina Fortino.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Catalina Fortino, Vice President from New York State United Teachers. I am so humbled to be here, to be part of this awesome, powerful, collective effort to build strong schools in Hempstead for our young children. So on this bitter, cold, cold night, here we gather together, parents, educators, faith leaders, union leaders, educational leaders, college leaders, and our young people. Thank you for those voices, with one common purpose. So I'd like for you now to turn to your neighbor and say, thank you for coming out. Turn to your neighbor, right. And then say to your neighbor, very, very strong and proud, with a deep belief, together we are going to be the change to help our schools. That's right. That's right. You know, the work together has already begun, because this event is evidence of teamwork. Don't you think so? That's right. And we have to applaud the team that put it together. The union leadership of Alliance Mestizo and your officers, thank you. For Anita Reynolds, the Hempstead Teaching Assistant Association President. For Annette Greer, the President of the Hempstead Civil Service Employees Association. And for the regional staff, Barbara Giacomo, Christine Sorney, and Matt Jacobs. Where are you? Thank you. So we have come together tonight to radically change the course of the Hempstead schools. Wouldn't you agree to that? That's right. Because for so long, our young people have been victimized by the chronic ineptitude, mismanagement, and lack of vision of the district's leadership. As parents and educators and young people, you have experienced the reality of living without a clear vision and workable plan for improvement from the district for many, many years, merely stumbling from one crisis to another. But tonight we say collectively, no more. No more. Tonight, let us join forces and transform our schools into true community centers that provide the education our children deserve, while laying the foundation for a social and economic renaissance in the Hempstead community. Let us commit to that today. So, out of this forum today, we will hear a lot of great ideas, innovations, and actions we can take together. And I'm standing here tonight to tell you that NYSET is committed to working with all the partners here tonight to make these ideas a reality and to state very, very clearly, sí se puede. Sí se puede. So let me highlight two very concrete ways that NYSET has been working on behalf of students. As part of our work with the New York State Educational Conference Board, we called on the state to assist districts with populations of English language learners. State aid has not kept pace to assure districts additional resources to meet the needs of dual language learners, including the recent influx of unaccompanied minors. We called for the state, our partnership with the New York State Educational Conference Board, to modify its operating aid formula to better recognize the numbers and the unique needs of English language learners. And I'm here tonight to tell you that the regions responded this year and heard the call of this coalition from the ECB. And they have included in their legislative budget agenda a substantial increase of funding for English language learners. During the summer, when unaccompanied minors traveled to make the horrific trek to our borders for a brighter future, and while I was not an unaccompanied minor, my parents made that journey many, many years ago with that hope. And here I stand, and successful English language learners like Elias and many of you in the audience. But we began to receive these young people, and I began to have conversation with local presidents like Elias, who began to tell me the need of the districts. And in turn, I took those conversations and I brought them to my conversations with the commissioner. I brought them to the conversations with the regions as Regent Tillis. And I just want to take a minute to recognize your leadership at the board. Thank you so much for always speaking out for Hempstead. What's really uncanny about Regent Tillis is, he brings that reality to the discussion. Making the ideas that may be put forth by the regents or the commissioner, and saying, you know what, let's take a step and think about this for a moment. Let's see what it really looks like in schools. Or this is what schools really need to, and let's make changes to these recommendations. So thank you, Regent Tillis, and we look forward to working with you in the coming years. But so we brought these needs, and then the regents acted on this. They said the schools really need to open their schools to educating our unaccompanied minors. And so on December 10th, the regents approved an emergency order to ensure that students are able to enroll in our public schools regardless of their immigration status. They made sure that they removed any barrier during that enrollment process so that parents across our state would be able to bring their youngsters and they would be able to receive that education that all families want. So those are really two examples of how NYSED has partnered, because this is not about doing this work alone. It's about partnering together to make this a better future for our students. So I look forward to letting this be the beginning of our fight together to make a better future for our young people. Thank you very, very much.
Good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be here to hear my friend Randi speak today, and to see a lot of friends in the audience that I've been able to work with over the years. I think, as Vice President Fortina said, I have been probably at almost every single Regents meeting every month for about 10 years now, bringing to the board the issues, the concerns that I've had about Hempstead and a couple of other districts on Long Island, but frankly Hempstead more than any other, since I witnessed I guess, I don't know how many years ago it was that I saw people throwing ashtrays and coffee cups at a board meeting, if you remember that. I said, this district is dysfunctional, and it has been dysfunctional for a long time. I saw the winds of change, and by the way, the response of my colleagues on the board has not always been wonderful and warm. In fact, often it's the case of, well, why are you so interested in those kids? And I said, those kids are our kids. That's right. Yeah. And although I don't live in Hempstead, I live probably 10 miles north of here. I represent Long Island on the Board of Regents. And when there is a concern, a problem, when kids aren't getting an education in one part of Long Island, it affects every part of Long Island. I saw some winds of change coming in over the last year, and I've been very encouraged by those winds of change. I started meeting several months ago, actually I met many years ago with the president of Hofstra, talking about how Hofstra and Hempstead schools could be working together. At the time, it was very difficult because you needed a partner. And Hofstra was certainly willing to be a partner. But there has to be two people to have that partnership. And it just didn't exist at the time. I see that as a real possibility now. There are a lot of ways and a lot of people who would like to be assisting Hofstra in this battle to provide a quality education. And I think now the willingness of the leadership is going to be very important to work cooperatively with all the parties that want to help and be here for Hempstead. And so I'm encouraged. We started a group, 8 months ago, with the provost Herman Berliner and the president of Hofstra and the dean of the education school and the business school and other parties and some of the fine superintendents we have around Long Island who really do believe that Hempstead is our concern and their concern, even though they're running districts in Rockville Center or in Herricks or in Jericho. They know that these kids are our kids. And there's a lot of people that really want to help. We've seen a big turnaround when I was chair of Long Island University. And with CW Post about almost 15 years ago, Professor Comer from Yale came and worked with our students at LIU Post and the Westbury School District, who asked us to be cooperating with them and work on a wonderful basis of bringing education school faculty and students and business school faculty and political science faculty to work with their board and their superintendent, who were incredibly cooperative. And Westbury moved from the very bottom of the pile of New York's districts to a point where they are right in the midstream. They moved up 350 places in school districts. So we know it can be done. We know it should be done at Hofstra. In Hempstead. And one thing I was very encouraged about, if attendance is a big factor, which we know it is, if people who don't come to school are not going to learn, the best way I know of having kids want to come to school is through the singing. You guys are terrific.
Thank you, Regent Tillis. I happen to be a graduate of Hofstra University and did my student teaching at Marshall School in Hempstead. Our next speaker, a community organizer, evangelist, Reginald Benjamin. Would you come forward, please?
Good evening, everyone. Let me just say, first of all, it's an honor and privilege to be able to stand before you all this evening. I'm thankful for the opportunity to stand before you all But I want to say, coming out the gate, in terms of the village of Hempstead, I want to sound the alarm. We have a desperate situation in the village of Hempstead. I asked myself a question: why is it that we have a $182 million budget and the worst graduation rate in all of the county? That is a concern for me personally, and a concern for the community. I found out that there are a lot of people that say they're doing things in the name of the children, but they're not doing too much for the children. To me, when you have people that's supposed to be representing our communities and sitting on boards that are handing out jobs to basically nobodies for $95,000 a year to show for somebody around, that's a problem. I am Reverend Reginald Benjamin. And I do represent the faith-based community. My organization is ABBA Leadership Center. The word ABBA stands for Able-Bodied Believers Alliance. For the last 17 years, I am also a chaplain in Nassau County Jail. And it becomes problematic to me when I recognize that the Nassau County Jail, the village of Hempstead, was disproportionately represented in the jail. You ask yourself a question: why is that a problem? That is a problem because 85% of the people that was coming into the jail, the young people, was high school dropouts. These are, and let me just say this, an uneducated child, a child that dropped out of school, is a crime waiting to happen. Yes. One of the things that we decided to do as a part of ABBA Leadership Center, what do we need to do to get involved with our children, to connect with the parents? You always got to have a carrot to connect with people. Did you notice that? We started a program. We realized that kids was not having the necessary school supplies that they needed to even start the school year off on equal footing with the average kid. So we started a program we started a drive to give backpacks and school supplies to kids. We started out over 10 years ago, and I thought I was very successful when we was giving out 50 backpacks to kids. And today we give out over 1,000. Wow. The idea of, I'm rambling a little bit here because they said I had a little limited time. I am a preacher and I could be long-winded. It's all right to get the hook. But I said to myself, some of our kids we work with gangs and all those kinds of things, so many things that we do. I'm trying to keep it focused. But I said to myself, why are some of our kids discouraged to even go to school? And I realized they was ill prepared. That's one of the problems. But in order to be an encouragement to the kids, the backpack thing is not just about giving them backpacks and school supplies, but it's a celebration. Each year, we celebrate our kids going back to school to let them know that that's one of the most important things that they can have in their life. Try not to clap because you're interrupting me. I'm sorry. So working together with people like George Cimarron, who's a strong partner of mine with the Hispanic Civic Association, and I'm glad to see Dennis Jones here. We are people that don't like to get involved with politics, to be quite upfront with you. But we got sick and forgive me for saying it this way, but we got sick and tired of these clowns running our school system and robbing our kids. So we begin to get out onto the streets to say, if you're not going to work with our kids, you need to get out of town. So I'm glad for people like Strong Youth taking it to the street. I'm glad for people like TCC taking it to the street. I'm glad, I see Donna Raphael here. We are angry and we are sick and tired of it, and then with your help, and I'm going to cut it short, with your help, we're going to get these people out of our school system that don't care about our kids and put somebody in there that are concerned about our kids. We love our kids in Hempstead. We are concerned about them. It grieves my heart. I work in a mentoring program as well. It grieves my heart to see the kids suffering in the way that they are. And lying politicians and lying people taking advantage of them. I'm done. God bless you.
Make it as difficult as Evangelist Benjamin did for me to follow. Would you please come to the stage?
Oh, I'm going to get the lies for this, putting me behind a minister. Wow. Good evening, everyone. It is a great honor to be here to engage with you all, you educators of Hempstead. I have a background in law enforcement for 25 years, so I'm not too astute in the area of your education of these kids. But I thank Mr. Mestizo for allowing me to come and speak with you. I come to you as a parent of a child in the district and as a representative from the community. A community that is going through a lot of transition right now. A community that is being looked upon very critically right now. Many media circles are talking about the village of Hempstead and the Hempstead School District. But through all of that, we're still standing, right? And we're going to continue to stand. So I stand before you as a representative also of the businesses of Hempstead. As the president of the Hempstead Chamber of Commerce, I get to interact with businesses here in Hempstead and in other areas. And in Hempstead, we have our fair share of small businesses and medium-sized businesses. And these businesses are the lifeblood of Hempstead. And these same businesses hire our students for internships and after school and also summer jobs. So our community thrives when our students are the best and the brightest. When our children go through the development period of education and continue to excel in life in whatever route that they choose, not only are the parents proud. I have a young son in the 11th grade in the high school. The communities flourish because these kids come back and they show us how great they're doing. And the businesses are replenished because we get to hire these kids and then they get to own businesses in our neighborhoods. But most of all, you, the teachers, you are overjoyed. As many times as I've sat in a meeting and you've had a student that has come back as an alum and you hear how great this kid is doing in life, I'm seeing the proud chest explode from the teachers that had these kids. So I know that you feel that you've accomplished that which you have set out to do from the moment that this child has entered into pre-kindergarten. Mr. William Arthur Ward once said, "The mediocre teacher tells. The good teacher explains. The superior teacher demonstrates. But the great teacher inspires." And that's where we're going to need to take the village of Hempstead and the Hempstead district and the students. We're going to have to continue to inspire them to feel great every day that they go to school. You are teaching the future lawyers, doctors, architects, politicians, pastors, civil workers, teachers, even presidents of this great country. Give our children the best that you can and watch the seeds grow. Our local businesses, the county, the state, and the world will wait for you to do what you do best, and we'll all stand poised to inherit your finished products. Thank you. God bless you.
The actual group Voices of Virtue. The students behind me, it's a unique blend of the top performing high school students, as well as our graduates from Hempstead High School who remain in the area, who attend school, who are working. It's a wonderful partnership for our high school students to get to be among the graduates who are in college. Some have graduated college and are working, and they get to have this type of mentoring support, and even when it comes to singing, knowing what our goal is for music. So it's a wonderful group of young people, both high school and post-high school.
I bet you didn't realize the talent, the talent, the talent. We are so fortunate. Our next speaker is going to introduce herself and tell you something. Oh,
See, they're so excited.
Graduate of Hempstead High School.
Whew. It is truly, 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 truly an honor to be here before parents, students, everybody involved in the Hempstead community because I am your product. I've been through Hempstead Public Schools my entire life. I'm going to be 24 years old February 9th. So it's elating. It's elating being here. Mr. Mestizo, I want to thank you for inviting me. You've been my teacher since I was this tall. I guess I'll start. I received a gift this Christmas, and it was a bracelet. Inside the bracelet, it had a very small message, and I thought it was very symbolic for today. Teamwork has the transformative power to take the unique abilities of an individual, combine them with others, and build a unified group that can achieve the unimaginable together, which is what we are wanting to do here. Am I right? I'll be the voice for our students. I recently graduated from Central State University, completed my Bachelor of Arts in Journalism and Digital Media. I developed the love for journalism in high school. We had a newspaper. It was called Hempstead's Roar. And Miss Truitt, I'm not sure if she's still teaching in high school, she was over the journalism class in our school. And I remember sitting in front of the computer, and she told me, go ahead, lay out what you want the kids to see. It was amazing. It was really, really amazing. I am currently on break. I'm glad to be done with school. Everybody's been asking me, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to pursue? And I am deciding to pursue a career as a multimedia journalist. I've been offered a job through Cox Media as a reporter in Dayton, Ohio. But I also want to be a public affairs specialist in the United States Air Force. So it's a big decision. It's a very, very big decision. But I wouldn't be here standing in front of you if it wasn't for my educators, like Mr. Mestizo, Ms. Blackburn. The member of the board just said that what keeps the students coming is the music. You hit home because the school that I decided to go to, Central State University, I pursued that university because I was given a scholarship in music. My degree is not in music, but music has opened so many opportunities. I have traveled all over the world. I was a part of that. I was, and it's amazing. It's amazing to see students in my place. And as much as I really wanted to jump out of my seat just now, just to go up there and sing with them, I had to, sit back and watch and see how we're growing. And as a student, because I'm still a student, no dream is too small. No dream is too big. Be susceptible, be receptive to change. You might want to be a veterinarian today, but when you go to college, that's going to change. You might not want to be a vet anymore. I wanted to be a news anchor. Met a news anchor, heard her story, and I was like, that's not for me. I'm going to stick to writing because writing is what I like to do. I'm going to stick to speaking because I love people. And I'm going to keep on singing because it's what I love. It's what kept me going. My GPA stayed up because I had a purpose in music. It motivated me. It taught me discipline.
It taught me the discipline that I needed. And don't take that away from the kids. Don't. I was in band too, in marching band. Played the flute, played the piccolo. Still want to pick one up today, but you got to keep moving forward. What I would say as a student to the parents, keep being that proud parent.
Yeah.
It may be a little overwhelming for us, but you know what? You guys are always with us. Always. Always, 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 no matter where we go. Even if we go away for college. My dad was always calling me, are you okay? Yes, Dad, I'm okay. I want to make you proud. As kids, we want to make you proud. So keep being that proud parent. If your child is calling out for help, answer to them. Answer to them. To the teachers, challenge us every day. Every single day. No matter how small, no matter how big, we will meet those challenges. As a former student of Hempstead, we're tough kids to love. Tough kids to love. But you know what? We love a good fight. I was also a part of sports teams in high school. I played badminton. And as not challenging as badminton was very, very challenging. Everybody goes for football, and you can see the challenge and the aggressiveness in the students. Badminton was challenging too. Just imagine trying not to yell during a game because you would get put out. We are very, very passionate kids, and that in itself, like, goodness. But every time we got to win, we were in the bus, cracking up, just elated with that word. So challenge us. Challenge us. We might not like it, but we're going to thank you for it. I thank you for challenging me. For the students that are here, empower each other. Don't put yourself down. Don't put each other down. Yes, you are competition, but you are that shoulder that this homeless kid might need to cry on because they don't have a mom, because they don't have a dad. So encourage each other to go to class, to go there even if you don't want to, study taking, everything. You are your strength. The way that we're going to continue to graduate, to meet yourself on that stage is if you pick each other up. So pick each other up. Give yourselves a lending hand. This is our town. Do not let it go to waste. I absolutely thank you guys for allowing me to speak, for allowing me to be the example that our kids, that your kids need. Because if I make it, they're going to make it. Thank you.
David Harrison School. It is not that lady in the striped shirt. Oh, is he a lady?
Hola, mi nombre es Katie Mejía López. Estoy en el 5º grado. Yo vengo de Honduras.
Hi, my name is Kavy Mejia Lopez. I'm in the 5th grade and I come from Honduras.
Y por el motivo que me vine a vivir a Norteamérica es por un mejor futuro.
The reason why I came to live in North America is to give myself an opportunity of a better future.
Que mi país no me daba y porque quiero cumplir mis sueños de ir al Army y ser un policía.
I also came because I am trying to realize my dream of going into the Army and becoming a police officer.
Me vine porque en Honduras hay muchos problemas y yo no pude estudiar.
I came because there are a lot of problems in Honduras and it became difficult for me to go to school.
Como yo quería, yo siento que no me daban suficiente tiempo para mi educación.
I felt that I did not get the opportunity for the time I needed to educate myself in my country.
Y aquí aprendo cómo hacer matemáticas, estudios sociales, lectura y inglés, que es muy importante para mí, estudios.
Here I'm able to learn about math, social studies, reading, and English. This is very important for my studies.
También he participado en el grupo de cheerleading y danza en la escuela David Patterson para homecoming porque me gusta expresarme bailando.
I've also been able to participate in cheerleading and dance at my school at David Patterson and was able to participate in the homecoming because I love to express myself through dance.
Yo le doy gracias al distrito de Hempstead, al director Mr. Ross y a la asistente Miss Curran por haberme aceptado en esta escuela.
I would like to thank Principal Rush and Assistant Principal Ms. Keller for allowing me to come to their school.
También le doy gracias a mis maestros Miss Turner y Miss David por haberme aceptado en sus clases y por enseñarme todo lo que saben.
I would also like to thank my teachers, Mrs. Turner and Mrs. David, for accepting me into their classrooms and for teaching me everything that they know and for helping me.
Y enseñar y ayudarme a lograr mis sueños en este país.
And for helping me realize the dreams that I have set for myself in this country.
Thank you.
We have some high school students, present students. One of my former students from 3rd grade. Brittany.
Hello, my name is Brittany Android, and I'm a senior at Hempstead High School. It's going to be hard to type everything that we've heard all day, so I'll just speak from my heart and my experience. Before I start, I just want to say that we are not what you see on the media. We are so much more. The media loves to portray all the bad and all the negative that goes on Hempstead, but as you can see, there's a lot of positive. There's a lot of love, passion. There's just so much that's good that you're not going to hear a lot about. My high school experience is definitely an experience. My junior year, I attended BOCES for the first time. It's a technical career school. I went for child development. My first day, my bus came an hour late, and there were about 4 people on the bus. It was my first time in West Prairie and BOCES. I walked into my classroom, and they were already in the middle of a lesson. And in my first year class, I was the only African-American female, and the only African-American from Hempstead. So being late, it wasn't, a good thing. And then being from Hempstead wasn't the best, because everybody has these perceptions or these preconceived thoughts of what they think people from Hempstead are like. It's not true. I was the first student of the quarter in my whole class. I'm the student ambassador. Every time they want somebody to speak about our class or speak about what we do in our class, they're like, well, Brittany, you can do it. Get Brittany. All my classmates, get Brittany. Brittany can speak. I have the highest GPA in my first year class. And when we first introduced each other in BOCES, my friends asked, well, where are you from? From Hempstead. Oh. Well, what is it like? It's great. What are you talking about? I don't see what you guys see on the news, you know? Some aspects, but I'll get to that later. I was contemplating saying this next part. I had to ask the Lord for some guidance. I was like, I don't want to offend anybody, but it's time. It's time. The board can be very political and not student-oriented. And this is coming from a student, okay? I've been to many board meetings, and a lot of the information that we wanted to know, it was not offered to us. We couldn't know that. Or we were denied speaking about certain things, and we had certain questions that could not be answered. And we became tired, we spoke out. Our transcripts couldn't be found, and these were for seniors from last year. There were no transcripts found, and it was too much. We could not do it. And although the district may not always be student-oriented, one thing I can say about Hempstead are we have amazing teachers. The reason why I decided to pursue child development is because of what I saw growing up. My second grade teacher, Ms. Brown Walker, amazing. Amazing. She inspired me. That was who I wanted to be, what I wanted to be, the example of what I wanted to be, when I wanted to be it. She was great. Great. I met some amazing people along the way. Teachers are not what the board may think they are. They care so much about the children, so much. I haven't seen such love in a community, although people don't think that there is so much love in this community. The teachers give all their time to stay after school, speak to whoever they need to, and it's unexplainable. Teachers like Ms. Blackburn inspire me. She stays, she speaks to you about anything you need, like just everything. Teachers stay after school, math teachers, to show my amazing science teacher. Amazing. What really inspired me to go into child development, well, to continue pursuing child development, was my pre-K teacher, Ms. Gideon. As part of my second year program in child development, we had to do an internship at a daycare or a preschool, and I knew I had to go to Marshall. So I went to Marshall, and I'm now an intern at Ms. Gideon's class. And I'll never forget, one day, the children were eating breakfast, socializing, not saying much, but they thought they were saying something. And I remember Ms. Gideon just looking around the classroom, she was like, there's never a morning where I wake up and I don't want to be here. She was like, there's never a morning, I never wake up like, oh, I gotta go there. She said she loves what she does. And it's evident. It's evident in all the teachers that I've encountered. It's evident. You can see the love, you feel the compassion, and it's phenomenal. And I just want to say that I am a product of the great that comes out of Hempstead High School. Not the good, the great. Because there are a lot of great students, but you don't get a chance to see that because of what are saying about in the news. I feel as though without our teachers, there would be no great students. And I don't feel like the board recognizes that a lot because they're trying to get rid of a lot of teachers and they don't listen to the teachers. And the teachers are very important. There's no teachers, there's no students, there's no school, there's no district. So what's really important in our district? The politics or our students and our teachers?
senior at Hempstead High School. My dream is to attend Columbia University and become an immigration lawyer. I have recently been offered interviews at Harvard University, Brown University, and Duke. I have those interviews in the next 2 weeks, so wish me luck, everyone. I have lived in Hempstead for the majority of my life, and I'm happy to say that living here has shaped my character in a better way. Throughout my years living in this community, I have witnessed countless people refer to my community as if we were beneath them. It is as everyone else has an opinion on our community without even stepping foot inside of it. When they hear about Hempstead High School, some people automatically associate it with failure, but this is far from the truth. The majority of our students are not dropouts. We do not all skip classes, and we do not all engage in fights. In fact, many of the students at my school are on the honor roll and are planning to become doctors and lawyers. We are not what the media perceives us to be. We are better than this. Every time Hempstead is mentioned on the news, it's for something negative. What the news stations fail to inform the people about are the good things that the students in Hempstead do. Have you ever heard about Hempstead graduates that have gone on to attend Ivy League schools? Or have you heard about how Hempstead this week has been offering programs at the school hosted by representatives from the Bill Gates Scholarship? Of course not. Of course you haven't heard about this, because this is not what the media wants to report. It's not controversial enough. It's a shame that the media does not recognize the talent that many of the students in my school have. The majority of our students are hardworking and are constantly trying to improve their lives despite the challenges that they may face. Not only do we have students obtaining very high grades, but we also have students who are involved in countless extracurricular activities. These activities range from sports and clubs to volunteering in various community events. My classmates and I constantly strive to be the best version of ourselves that we can possibly be. We refuse to live up to the low expectations that other people have for us. We have risen above this time and time again. I and many others refuse to become part of the so-called Hempstead statistic. We will not give the media the tools it needs to continue to scrutinize our community. Thank you.
You know, I want to cry, and I know there's a board meeting tonight, and that's very important that we attend. But the reality is that we're looking to have a different story. And it's a story, the voice of our students and our teachers and our community. And we wanted to originally do a rally back in September. And there were some politics at play that didn't allow us to have it. So as we were changing plans and ideas, we felt that, you know what, we as teachers have not only the experience but the knowledge. And one of the outspoken people out there is our president, AFT president, Randi Weingarten. And she has privately and publicly always said that she supports Hempstead schools. And we have invited her tonight to speak to us for a few minutes or for however long she has. The experiences that teachers have made in this nation to change school districts at Hempstead. And that's why I believe that it is time for the teachers in Hempstead to get up, stand up, and change our school system.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? So, the students in this room have done an incredible service. My grandmother would say an incredible mitzvah for all of us. Because what they have done is that they have taken a mirror to all the mediatists here to basically say, there is love in this district, there is will in this district, there is resilience in this district, there is soul, there is savvy in this district. That means there is an ability to move forward if we seize that ability to move forward. Now, I can't preach. I often say the preacher in my family is my partner, not me. So I can't preach like Reverend Benjamin. And I can't be as fantastic a business person as Mr. Jones. And I am honored always to be in a room with Roger Tillis because he is the epitome of what a public servant is supposed to do. And I am so grateful that he's here tonight. You know, he's going to grade me on my speech, you know. And Fatima, thank you so much for speaking truth to power. And Gabriella, my father's name is Gabriel. Gabriella, we only wish for you, maybe you want a third option to work in our communications department. We only wish for you what we wish for every student here and what you said, which is we have an obligation as a community, as a village, to ensure that every child has that ladder of opportunity. Every single child. And you know as well as I do, as Brittany, I think, said, there's a tremendous love from teachers to do this work. I saw it the first time I was in this district with Dawn. I see it every time I look at Elias's tweets or talk to him or talk to your other members of the executive board. I don't get to talk to all the teachers in this district all the time, but you see it and feel it. But what's needed is an infrastructure that helps get this done. Not an infrastructure that blames and shames. Not an infrastructure that wants to hide its cronyism and corruption by blaming and shaming educators. But an infrastructure that does hold children with the heart that everyone in this room is holding children. And that's what you're trying to do. And I promised I would not be political tonight. So I'll just say, people have a right to speak out. People have a right to have a voice. That is why America was birthed so many years ago, for that voice. That is why those of us who elect to do this work from the union side do this work to enable all workers to have a voice, to have a path. That is why we fight, as we do, for an immigration law that ensures that people don't fear their families being pulled apart. And that when children come in, as whether they're unaccompanied or whether they're accompanied, that there are the resources in schools to help them. Yes. So that they get what my mother got when my grandparents came from Russia. How dare we pull the ladder of opportunity up after us? We need to plant it in
when it has all of a sudden 300 or so newcomers come in? How do you prepare when you have no idea? And how dare you say that we won't take children in? You spoke against that, and that's why so many children are in school now, because of what you all did. Thank you very, very much. But I go on and on, but you know, frankly, better than I do, what the issues are in the district. My job is to say and to show and give some examples of, even when you have great dysfunction, how you as a community can turn this around. I've seen it, we've done it. Even in New York City, when Rudy Crew and Rudy Giuliani couldn't sit in the same room with each other. You remember when Rudy Giuliani was mayor? Yes. It feels like a long time ago, but not really. And the headlines in the papers kept saying, schools are failing, teachers are failing, and the kids would say, wait a second, that's not us. And just like Stephanie was talking about tonight, about making sure the media doesn't define. Gabriel and I will tell you, we love the media. We just want you to report the right things. We did was say, wait a second, we're not going to be defined by struggling schools or failing schools. We're going to work to try to make them better. Even though the mayor wasn't talking to the chancellor. And the board was in, frankly, total dysfunction. And we came up with a plan, a group of us. And we worked with people at the Board of Education. People we could work with. And we finally convinced the mayor to give us some money, even though he was not kind and fuzzy towards labor unions. Is that charitable enough? And what happened? We created something called the Chancellor's District. 40 schools were in that district. About 25 elementary schools. And within a year or two, every single elementary school in that district was turned around. Did we close those schools? No. What do? We said to the teachers and to the parents, let's have a curriculum that actually is aligned with what kids need to know and be able to do in elementary school. And let's make sure that you have some time, teachers, to work with this curriculum instead of throwing you the keys and say, just do it. And let's make sure for kids, for students, that if somebody is falling behind, we don't say either tough luck or say to their parents, try harder. But we actually help somebody the week that they are falling behind so that there's just-in-time catch-up. And what if we actually have guidance counselors, and what if we actually say we're not going to pit music and art against professional development and things like that, but we say there needs to be, in the city of New York, the richest city in the world, enough money to make sure there's music and art for the kids in the struggling schools in that city. And what if we do all that? And what a shock. Within a year or two, every elementary school turned around for kids. Why do I give you that as the first example? Because just like with Union City, New Jersey, which decided to be very anti-Christie in approach, and said, we're going to take the money that was supposed to come from what was their CFE, Campaign for Fiscal Equity, equity funds,
we're going to take the money that came from what they call the Abbott funds, and we're going to use it the right way. We're going to actually work with teachers and work with the school board and actually do the following things. High quality full-day pre-K for kids starting at age 3. Immigrant children, because Union City has a lot of immigrant children. Become fluent in their first language and then use that as a bridge to become fluent in English. And as I think Brittany or Gabriella said, we're going to challenge students with a challenging curriculum that is engaging and that we help kids climb the ladder to get to. Not just say to everybody, go do it. And what a shock. Test scores were used to diagnose and address problems, not as a hammer to hammer. Those are only a couple of things that they did. But like the Chancellor's District, the #1 tool was to work together rather than blame each other to get this done. And what's happening in Union City? Throughout the country, people look at Union City now because what has happened? The scores have galloped ahead, graduation rates are up, but it took money and working together. Now, what happens in a place that doesn't work together? Because you're saying, wait, we got people to work together. Take Philadelphia. And I'm going to raise this issue. Just like here, there's a lot of stories about Philadelphia. And the people who are in charge of the district in Philadelphia are really not good. And in fact, they are pretty much the reason why the current governor was defeated and why a new governor is coming in on January 20th. Because what that governor did, and that governor, did I wake you up? Yeah. What that governor did, and what, does that mean I should stop? What that governor did, and what he attempted to sell, and that governor runs that school system. They starved the schools. They made sure that charters were the competitive model. In fact, one charter school, when parents were asked whether they wanted this particular charter rather than the public schools, put $2 million extra on the table to choose the charter instead of the public. Kids no longer had art and music, guidance counselors and nurses. And then the governor said, if the teachers will give up 30 to 40% of their salaries, we can give this back. And tried to get the community to buy that. And use that platform to run for re-election. Does that have any sound of familiarity to this? This is what happened, my friends. And this is why I'm using this as an example. The community came together, just like you have in this room. We didn't have the school district. We didn't have the mayor. We didn't have the chancellor. But what we had was parents and clergy and business and students and our union. And what we did as a union was we worked together to create something we called PCAS, and a plan and a vision for what schools should look like. Where schools like in Cincinnati, we had community services right in the school, where we had schools open 18 hours a day or 16 hours a day, where you have art and music and after-school activities, and maybe the community college or Hofstra coming in and doing workshops at the school. Where we did like we're doing in McDowell County, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, the 8th poorest county in the United States, where we do broadband and where we're actually building housing for teachers. Why? Because there's been no buildings in that neighborhood, in that county, new buildings in 50 years. We as a community in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, came together. And we came together and said, this is the vision of education. This is how we turn around schools. This is how we help all kids learn. This is how we keep art and music. This is how we teach Common Core. This is how we have career tech ed that's aligned so that kids have lots of different choices. And what happened? The city of Philadelphia, each time that governor attempted to do things like impose a contract or make it the teachers' fault, said no, no, no. And the state of Pennsylvania basically said to this governor, we don't buy what you're selling. The number one issue in the last election in Pennsylvania was education. And the person who said, we are going to turn around the Philadelphia schools and make sure there's a school for every child, that every single school is a school where parents want to send their kids, educators want to work, and children are engaged. The person who ran on a platform to reclaim the promise of public education won that election by double digits. I end with that to say this. We know how to help here, and we want to help here. We have a staff that has worked in Cincinnati, in McDowell County, West Virginia, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in New York City, all around this state, and through lots of places throughout this country. If you as a community want to work together to create a vision of schools that make children center, that respect the educators, and hear deeply parents, that fight to make sure we help every child and meet every child where she or he needs us to meet them, we can help you turn this around. You can help you turn this around. Where there is this will, where there is this passion, where there is this resilience, we together can make sure you reclaim the promise of public education, not just for Gabriella, not just for Stephanie, not just for Brittany, but for every one of God's children in our village of Hempstead. Thank you.